Hello and welcome to the Fearless Speakers Podcast. I'm Richard Jones, public speaking coach and co-leader of TEDx Beckenham. This month, I caught up with fellow TEDx leader, Nathan Friend. In this episode, I talked to Nathan Friend, who's one of the leaders of TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells. It was a really fascinating conversation. I learned a lot about how Nathan first got involved in the TEDx, also about the sort of events that they run, which I didn't know about before, and also looking at how they find their speakers, the sort of support that they provide, and also how you can get involved either as a speaker or in some other capacity. Great. Well, thank you so much, Nathan, for agreeing to be my third guest on this run. This is
it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, thanks very much. This is my first interview with a fellow TEDx organizer. So I'm really intrigued to hear more about what you get up to in Tunbridge Wells, etc. But maybe if we sort of take a step back a little bit to start with and just hear a little bit more about you and how you came to get involved in the whole world of TEDx.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tunbridge Wells. I've lived there all my life until I went to uni at the end of sixth form, and I went to a local academy for secondary school. It's called Skinner's Kent Academy, and they hosted the first TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells. So while I was studying there, I think I was in year 8 or 9. And I saw, this thing is happening. And like I was kind of aware of TED Talks and kind of what they were at the time. So I knew that was happening, and I had some sort of cursory interest in seeing how that grew in the town, because it was, first TEDx event. It was under 100 people in our lecture theatre there, and then that went to a small local theatre. And then it went into the big theatre that we have in Tunbridge Wells called the Assembly Hall Theatre, which is this massive, 950-seat venue that they have kind of throughout secondary school. And while I was kind of keeping an eye on what TEDx was doing, because I saw it look cool, I was getting more into theatre. And I currently work as a stage manager. So I look after theatre productions, get them up and running, run them every day in, day out. And I initially kind of contacted the team running TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells, being like, hey, are you planning to run a youth event? Are you planning to do something that is, for my demographic? And they were like, not yet, but thank you for letting us know that there's interest in this. More time goes on, and I get a message from them being like, hey, do you want to come along to our launch party and see if you want to get involved with this? And I kind of went to the launch party. I was like, yeah, I feel like I can actually really, get on with this group of people and kind of get involved and bring in more of a youth aspect to it. And yeah, from there, I attended some of the committee meetings with the people who were running it. I started helping out on the event days, mainly kind of in lighting and video, sort of operating equipment as needed. I went to uni. I went to study stage management at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. And while I was there, I got a message from a woman called Lizzie, who was one of the team involved in the previous iteration, and the intention had been that they would kind of take over the running after 2020. And that never happened because everything kind of ground to a halt. But they were like, hey, do you want to be involved with this? Do you want to kind of run TEDx in Tunbridge Wells again? And I had to think about it. I didn't really know what I was getting into looking back at it, but I was like, this could be a fantastic thing to do. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll get into it. And from then we have been kind of building it back up. We have been kind of almost from scratch again. We've had some things to kind of get us going, but like pretty much from scratch building TEDx back in Tunbridge Wells. And it's been, it's been a fantastic experience so far with kind of the speakers and the audience that we've had. And just, it's been great so far.
Wow, that's a really interesting story because it kind of reiterates to me, like when Ronke and I set up TEDx Beckenham, there may well have been a TEDx Bromley in the past, I don't know, but there certainly wasn't at that point. And so I had a very different experience. So didn't have that sort of run up of contact with existing organisers, which you've had, which is really interesting to hear that that contrast.
Yeah, it's been a valuable experience having done that even when I was younger, going into going into it now.
Yeah, seeing sort of past iterations. I'm curious then sort of how things have changed under your kind of, management, what you've managed to bring in that perhaps wasn't there before, or things that have changed as a result of your sort of decisions you've made.
I think the main thing that we have changed is that we have decided to kind of broaden out the sort of events that we're doing in a way that is kind of there's less pressure on in-person curation, so that we're not curating 3 full events each year, even though we are running 3 events. So we're still running the main TEDx event, the kind of one that everyone thinks of as a TEDx event in March every year. And that has 10 live speakers, performances. It's in that building. It's in the Assembly Hall Theatre now, and we're you know that's kind of our main focus throughout the year. We're also running a TEDx Youth event soon, so we're working with, I think it's about 5 partner schools across Tunbridge Wells, and that is, the focus on that is really it's for the community, it's for the young people in Tunbridge Wells, and to kind of go, we're going to train you up, we're going to give you these public speaking skills, which is really, kind of a powerful thing that we can give to people with our expertise. And then we'll run a TEDx event. You guys will go off and develop your own ideas. It'll be shorter talks, so 3 to 5 minutes, but go off and develop your own ideas, and then we'll run a full TEDx event, and you'll have these ideas out there to kind of share with the world. And then the last thing we're doing is a TEDx live event, which, a small aside, is not the most intuitive licensing name, if I may say, considering there are no live speakers at our TEDx live
Yes. When I
events.
looked it up, I was a bit confused as to
Yeah,
have I been looking at the right thing?
I know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh god, so TEDx live events, they are centered around streaming talks from a TED conference. The ones that they're currently offering for that are the main TED conference in April, which is a bit too close for us to our main event, and the TED Next conference, which is fairly new. It's taken over kind of the TED Women place in their calendar, and we've actually found has worked really well with the type of talks that they promote, or they program for those events. It's been really nice to kind of curate from TED's curation and go, we're going to share these ideas with you, and it's just looking at different kind of areas of Tunbridge Wells which we can kind of get a hold in, and kind of go, well, we can help with this. We can really put something on that people can resonate with.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. I wanted to just pick up on those other types of events then, because I think that's really interesting. Like the TED Youth, what sort of age range are the speakers that you have there?
So for us, we're running this at the moment with year eights, doing this. So really, just getting into secondary school. With the main kind of school we're working on this partnership with is a private school, so they don't have a GCSE provision. So they go up to year 8, and then all their students feed out into local secondary schools. So that's kind of the reason we've chosen that, and we feel like it's a good time to do this so that people can get this experience and then take that into their GCSE experience before kind of they need to focus a lot on exams. And we've had really good uptake from schools with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that age as well, it's a really important. I mean, I think public speaking skills is great to pick up at any age, but I think particularly at that early teenage stage where perhaps confidence is an up and down with the hormones. Like I think, yeah, it's just fantastic that you're offering that.
100%. And I think as people kind of, if we think of kind of 13, that's kind of the age where you are getting more access to social media, you're getting more access
Yes.
to all these different sources of news. And the TED Talks aren't just about the public speaking side of it, but they're also about the research and the understanding and the media literacy. And that's a key thing with all of these. All the talks are fact checked, they are source checked to make sure that they are putting out good information into the world. And I think that having those sessions and those skills early on pays dividends later on when you get into personal projects and greater A-level studies. And even I think just having that base is a really fantastic thing that we've been able to kind of create with this program with the schools we're working with.
Yeah, I think that's great. And also anyone who's out there thinking of perhaps setting up a TEDx youth event, I understand that you can set that up as a, as your only license. So if there are any teachers out there or anyone supporting young people, that might be somewhere to start for them.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Uh, that's fantastic. So let's just talk a little bit then, perhaps about your main event and the process for finding your speakers, because I know that I get a lot of I get a lot of people approach me asking to speak at our event or wanting to know about how you get onto the TEDx stage. I obviously have my own views on this, but I'm curious to hear from your perspective and also from the perspective of your stage. Really, I guess first of all, um, what's the what's the process you go through, and also what are you looking for? In a good lineup, I guess, of speakers.
So I think kind of from the speaker side of things, we'll start there. It's a combination of open recruitment of speakers, so open applications, and then and also us kind of finding people we think have really got really good ideas to share. So we ran for our event coming up. We ran a submission form that ran for about, I think, 3 to 4 weeks, just at the start of end of June, start of July. And through that process, we will, we have a few standard questions. One of the key things for us is, what is the takeaway for the audience? Like, we're really trying to get people to think about, the generosity side of TED Talks, because like no one, even for TED doesn't pay their speakers. Anyone who's done a TED Talk isn't being paid to be on that stage. So there is a intrinsic sense of generosity that has to be within all of these talks, of sharing something. So we really want to kind of get to the nub of that idea, and the nub of that kind of, what are you sharing. We also ask, specifically, we ask for a through line, and this is not original. I'm going to outright state this is from Chris Anderson's wonderful book
Yes,
on
yes, I
public
should have it with
speaking.
me to show people, but
I have it somewhere on my bookshelf,
okay,
but it
we
is
both
it
failed,
is
but
the we specifically say we're not looking for a YouTube title. We're not looking for what is the attention grabbing thing we're going to promote once your talk is out there. It is in as simplest terms as possible, what is the idea? It should be about 15 words. That is what we're really looking for. Because if you don't have that, then I start to wonder how everything else kind of folds in on the talk. But if you have a clear kind of starting point, if it's just a really simple statement, then you can go in so many places with that. And like, that's one of the key things that we look for when we're looking, both privately outreaching to people and both looking at these submissions. It's like, what's the clarity on this
yes.
submission? I think so we take those submissions, we run that for about a month. I think this year as well, kind of 2 weeks out, we put out some advice based on what we'd seen already,
Mm.
just going, hey, this is where we're looking for more people.
Oh, that's great.
So kind of, the arts is something that we were really keen to hear more from, and we did get a couple of submissions from the arts, which is really good to see that people responding to that. I think, kind of coming back to the youth thing, we didn't really get any younger submissions from ours. We have a kind of a base age limit of 16 for our submissions at the moment. That may change in the future, but that's kind of what it is at the moment. And we kind of put out being like, hey, if you're under 35, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're doing and hear what you've got to share, because I think there is, experience definitely goes towards a lot of these great ideas, but also just kind of having the boldness to say, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm going to try something new. Like, that's something we really want to hear, because that's often some of the most surprising and some of the greatest stuff that comes out of talks. So once that's submitted, we then kind of internally kind of long list. So we go through everyone. We just have a quick look and go, okay, does this feel like something that could work? Does this feel like it's missing something before we kind of take this to the next stage? So we long list that. We then, for our process last year, what we did is, from that kind of long list, we had another discussion being like, okay, does this feel like something we could create or we want to hear more about? And anyone who we then took to the shortlist, we said, hey, we want you to submit a video talking about your idea. We want you to submit, I think it was a couple of minutes on your idea. And I think the phrase we used was a snippet of your talk. Like, it doesn't need to provide the whole idea, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be well rehearsed. We really want to see the passion for people, because I think it may have been you or someone else I've seen on LinkedIn lately. It's just like, you really need to be passionate about it. It's not like, oh, what is my TEDx talk? It's like, okay, what am I already passionate about that I can turn into a talk? Because that's really where some of the best talks come from, of like, you're already so like feeling it and kind of doing this day to day. It's just another form of putting that across.
Yes, definitely. And I think that really helps us in terms of like reassurance, that this is something that people live and breathe. If they're already talking about it on LinkedIn or other social media, or locally in person, that's really good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So then once we get those videos back, and we also ask people to state their through line again, just so that we can make sure that things are really aligning. So we've got that immediate, like, this is what the through line, this is a couple minutes of what this talk could look like. So we have that immediate kind of, there's no like recency bias there. It's just like, we know what this should be. And at that point, we get other members of the team involved. One of the key things is you don't curate alone, and at no step of the
Mm.
process we are curating alone. Like, we'll all have our thoughts, and we'll all kind of have discussions on who we think should get it. And like, there are people that we have put through in some previous processes that I wasn't too confident about, but then I see their videos like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, this is actually, and like, that's the benefit of like not curating alone, because you get those unexpected surprises in a really positive way. And kind of furthering out, as I said, we bring in the rest of the team so that they can have a look at those videos and that they can give their thoughts, because ultimately they are part of the team. They are a subset of Tunbridge Wells. They are a subset of the community we are curating for, and it's a really nice way for us to get them involved and make them feel kind of some ownership for the event,
Yeah, I
and kind
love
of,
that. How many people then would get involved in total?
I'd say we put out, so the current team is about 10 people. We put
Mm.
it out to all of them, just say, hey, if
Yeah.
no pressure if you don't have the time, because, a lot of our team are freelance. They are constantly working on different things. But if you're able to, we would love to hear your thoughts on these videos. So if you can go through them and kind of
Great.
just jot down a sentence or two and let us know. And then we will have a look at those and we'll take those into account for our decision.
Yeah.
And as we discuss them.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like a really thorough process, I have to say. And I think one of the great benefits of that is it sounds like once people get through to the point of acceptance, that they are really well equipped. Like they're already, that their through line is nailed. You know that you've seen them, on camera. So it sounds like they've got a really good, starting point. And then normally sort of how long do you give would that be from that point up to the, date of the event?
So we contacted most of our speakers saying we want them to speak in September, and then the event
Mm.
is in March. And this is one thing I say about our process. It's a longer process, I think, than some other TEDx's like that. If you think like you apply right at the end of June, you're going to speak for another 9 months.
Mm.
I think it is longer, and I'm not going to pretend that it's not. But I think that, again, we get really great people through that because they are already so passionate about what they're talking about, and they are very much kind of already in the mindset of wanting to give this talk because they already know so much
Yeah.
about what they're talking about. Um, but yeah, so it's about maximum 9 months, minimum 8 months, I suppose, if you're going through
Yeah.
that open process. And
Wow.
when we're talking to people privately, it's all outreaching ourselves. I'd say that it's a bit shorter because we kind of understand from that open application process what we need to add into the program, but we're asking the same sort of questions. We want to know what the takeaways are. We want to know what the through line is. We want to know kind of the demographics as well to make sure that we have a balanced and representative lineup. So yeah.
And actually, sometimes people contact me, and I'm not just talking about people who want to speak on our stage, but perhaps other stages. And I get a sense that like they want to do it in the next 2 or 3 months. And I always kind of very politely sort of suggest that maybe it's not quite a quick process as that. I mean, certainly in our 2 events, we've made the decision only 3 months in advance. So that's already I think that's too short, really. I think I want to make that longer. But from what you've just said, I mean, like, you could be talking 6 to 9 months. And also, people have contacted me and I've been chatting with them on and off for about a year until they eventually come on our stage. So I think it really speaks to that point of it's not like a thing that you just rush out. You have the idea and then you do it. Like this is a kind of a to make the most of it, this is quite an involved process.
Yeah, and I think that I remember I went to TED Next in 2024, the first kind of TED Next conference, and there was a speaker on stage. And sometimes what TED will do after they have speakers on stage is they'll bring the host up and they'll ask a couple of questions. And one thing they remarked is like, "Oh, we hadn't really received what your thing was about." And they were a creative poet, I believe, was it? And they were saying, "Well, the muse didn't speak to me until quite recently." And like for some people, like for some talks that does happen, and like that kind of creative spurt comes at the last moment. But there's a theme, like for me as an event organizer, the more sure I can be of my content ahead of time, the more trust I can put in that speaker.
Yes,
And kind of,
definitely.
especially when I'm promoting them and going, because what I don't want to have to do as an event organizer is promote someone, and like I'm really excited about it, and like I'm excited about all our speakers, and they get a lot of hype, and then we're suddenly like, oh, we have to pull this because this just isn't ready for the stage yet.
Has that ever happened? Or
I have not had to do that yet,
okay,
and I
good.
really, really hope so we don't. And
Yes.
I think, yeah, I'm very confident that we won't have to anytime soon. We've got
Yeah,
a
because
fantastic lineup of
yeah,
speakers coming up.
fan and then in terms of the support that you give your speakers once they have been accepted, what does that look like?
So it kind of it's I'd say about a 50-50 blend of having sessions with our speaker coaches and kind of um I'm going to use a school term here, and I apologize. Kind of self-directed time of kind of, you need to prepare by yourself, and you need to kind of rehearse this because, like, we will provide help and tools where we need to, and like, the speaker coaches that we have are fantastic, and they are incredibly helpful in both a group setting and a one-to-one setting. But it's also a case of you need to be developing this on your own time to really get a sense for your sense of rehearsal. Because this, again, I'm going to pull from Chris Anderson's book here. There's this interesting line of you can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and there's a certain point where you feel the talk as opposed to know the talk. And once you feel the talk, that flow becomes so much more natural, and it's an incredible shift from someone who is aware of what they're saying and compared to someone who just knows it and feels it and is living it.
Yes.
And that's something that ultimately has to come through your own rehearsal, has to
Yeah.
come through your own time sticking with someone. Otherwise, I think it is an interesting thing of like, otherwise you can come across as too rehearsed if you don't rehearse just enough,
Yeah,
because it's like,
it's odd, isn't it? But that's true. Mm,
but like once you are living that talk, then suddenly everything else unlocks, and you kind of feel it. You can get that sense that you can get back on track if you don't say something exactly right. Like that's the yeah. So that's the sort of support we provide, and I think we always have our team available at the end of an email just in case something comes up and they want to check something through with us, because we're aware that there's a lot of pressure for people to kind of have this as their talk put online, and most people will only ever get one TEDx talk or one TED talk. This is their opportunity, so like we understand that there's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on them,
yes.
from just kind of the feeling of like, oh, this is my talk, I have to get this right. So we make sure we're there for people. We have a really regimented kind of on the day as well structure of getting people through and kind of going through with them. Here's how we're going to do this, here's
Mm,
how this is going to run, making sure that we've got all the content in place so that making like the decision of like, if someone has slides, do you want to operate it or do you want someone with a script to operate for you?
mm.
Because some people want that control, but other people just want to focus on the talk. So that's what we try and do.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point around the structure on the day, because I think the more preparation you can put in that, the more you reassure yourself as the organizer and also the speakers, right? They feel more naturally relaxed because they know it's everything's in hand. Yeah. Great. So in terms of so presumably, based on what you've said, it sounds like you're quite a way in terms of finding your speakers for your next event?
We're currently figuring out whether a unique format of talk works for the stage. If that works, we will be pretty much there with curation. And all of those people pretty much we have found through the open submission process. And I'm really glad that we have found those people because they're people we just didn't know about. So, but yeah, we are in a really good place curation wise, and now the kind of focus for me is to kind of let the speaker coaches do what they need to do with our speakers. Like I'll be there to kind of make sure that everything's staying on track, but otherwise they are far more qualified to kind of look after the kind of ins and outs of intonation and
Mm.
presentation than I am. And I could just focus on kind of getting everything else for the venue ready with the rest of the team.
Yeah. No, that's great. And so 10 talks, what's the kind of like time frame, what time of the day and what does it look
So
like?
so we're running on a Sunday. We're running all day on a
Mm.
Sunday.
Mm.
And we've chosen that because that's the format we've previously had pre 2020, and we feel that kind of not overloading people with information has been really beneficial for us.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
With the kind of from kind of our first hand experience of things has been with the TEDx live event actually, and it's
Mm.
been kind of looking at for the TEDx Live, we follow a bit of a weird format where we will select the talks from TED Next, and then we will offer discussion questions immediately after. So we won't kind of have one talk after another like you would in a kind of a typical TED session. But we want to space it out and give people the idea to breathe and to think and to really absorb what's being shown on screen. So, kind of in keeping with that for the main event, I think the current plan is to only have maybe 3 or 4 speakers a session. That may change, but we really want to give people the space to kind of think about things when we have those breaks in between. Because the event is not just about the talks themselves, but it's also about the connection. And we can really maximize that by connecting with, giving people the opportunity to connect with each other, connect with the speakers. And yeah, that's a format that we're really confident in going into kind of the event in March.
Yeah, I really love that because sometimes I feel like we, you have like talk and then talk and then like that, you know, although you maybe not would have forgotten what the first speaker said, that sort of the impact of what they put forward is kind of lost because to some extent because it's been not superseded, but you see what I'm saying. The energy has now gone to another speaker, and now another speaker.
If you go to a TED conference, if you go to the main TED conference, they've got 11 sessions over the entire week. Each session will have 8 to 12 speakers. So that's like a normal TEDx kind of curation workload in one session, which is insane. And like TED can do that because they've got these conferences where people are dedicated in a room. They are here for those talks. And that is the only thing they're thinking about for those 3 days or those 5 days.
Yes.
We've really got to bear in mind that we are one event on one day. People are taking time out of their free time to come to our event. So we really have to make it feel more like a social experience. So you're not kind of missing out on that aspect of it. So yeah, that's kind of why we've decided to split it up like that.
Yeah. No, that's great. And just that's reminded me when you said about the social aspect. Certainly, I'm very keen that our event remains very local, both in terms of supporting the local community, getting fresh ideas out there, and having an emphasis on how they will benefit that community, but also finding our speakers locally. And I'm curious to what extent you also follow that as a rule.
The way we currently phrase it when we're kind of talking about things is, we want local and locally relevant. And I think that's something I feel comfortable with because it's a focus on like, okay, we are going to focus on Tunbridge Wells. Like first and foremost, we want to hear from people nearby, but we're also not against people who are from further afield who have something that feels really relevant to the community. We do try and prioritize where possible people who live in Tunbridge Wells and the surrounding area because I think the one of the other nearest events, not going north into like London, but I think TEDx Brighton or something
Yes,
may be one of the
that's a long
nearer
way as
events.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we are kind of the TEDx event for our area of Kent and maybe even a bit of Surrey and Sussex. So it's a there's a focus on staying within Tunbridge Wells. But if someone comes from us from further afield within the UK and say, "Hey, I've got something that I think could really work," that's something that we'll sit up and pay attention to, because we want, this is kind of TEDx events are all about these different ideas. In a low key way, there is a risk of an echo chamber, perhaps, if you exclusively curate locally. Like if we were to get everyone from Tunbridge Wells and we were to have them all be from a similar sort of demographic and a similar sort of business area or a similar sort of background, there's a real risk, I think, of just hearing versions of the same thing over maybe not the same event, but over a couple of events, being like, "Oh, I heard something similar last year." And there's it's that blend of novelty and familiarity. We want ideas that feel familiar and kind of extend knowledge, but also something that's completely new. And that's the balance we're always trying to strike. So having that kind of local and locally relevant, I think, is how we achieve that. And by saying, we want people from Tunbridge Wells, but we also want people from further afield within the UK if you've got something you feel resonates with the Tunbridge Wells kind of community.
Yeah, and I love that, emphasis on variety because, and you touched on it before about a variety of topics that are covered, etc. I think that's so important. It's important for me anyway, but I'm sure most people like to have variety in their life and
Oh,
to
yeah.
experience new things and hear about new things.
I mean, like, the reason we have 3 different events, I think partly is because my brain is like, I want to do all these different things. and doing those 3 different events, they're all different challenges. And like
Yeah.
my brain is really up for that and kind of going, oh, we've got the live event where we're focusing on like the curation from TED. And then we've got the main event where we're doing the curation. Then we've got the youth event where we've got this whole speaking program going. Like, that's like, I'm sure I could appear scatterbrained to some people, but it really is nice to kind of be able to do all those different things and have that variety.
Let's circle back to I know we talked about this at the start, but the TEDx Live event that you've just recently run. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's the TEDx Live events, as I mentioned, they are focused on kind of live streaming from TED's conferences. So the kind of you can do live speakers for it, but the kind of focus for them is like bringing TED's ideas to local people. And we run ours in kind of autumn, winter time, so October, November, depending on when the TED Next conference is. So that's fairly new. And what we do for that is we look at TED's talks from all of those sessions. So I think it's about 40 talks in total that we go through, as with me and the other curator Lizzie and our team where we can, just to kind of get their views on it as well, and kind of going, what makes the most sense for Tunbridge Wells. And one thing I really like about doing the TED Next stuff is because TED have a really nice way of describing it. TED's main conference is about the future of. Their main conference is the thing where there's normally a big technical innovation that someone wants to present, or there's a really cool new way of doing things, or something that relates to TED's other broader initiatives like Countdown of the Audacious Project. For TED Next, it's very personal development focused and professional development focused. They kind of describe, if TED is the future of, TED Next is the future you, is what they describe it. And that's been really nice because it means that we can have almost a broader appeal by choosing from those talks compared to the main TED conference. We also have the benefit of not going through 11 sessions of talks, which is daunting.
Yes.
Like,
you get the highlights.
Yeah, like we have about 40 to go through instead of about 90, which is, it's amazing how they program all of those. It enables us to lean into the discussion side of things as well. So we can kind of curate specific questions for people to chat about after each talk, and we've found that works really well with the format. And one thing we did this year, which we've never done before, is we ran workshops as well. We ran kind of, to make it more of a TED-like experience, we ran workshops that people could sign up to outside of the main session, and people loved it. Like, we had 4 incredible experiences. We had one on kind of harnessing nerves in the spotlight, so kind of public speaking confidence and kind of, feeling that trust in yourself to kind of have those difficult conversations. We had one on awakening your inner artist with no, like, and I saw the stuff that people had created. after like an hour, we had a talk on AI. We were a workshop on AI, I should say, not a talk. We had a workshop on kind of thriving in the age of intelligent machines and kind of the ways that AI is a co-curator or a co-creator as opposed to kind of taking over our jobs. And then
Yes.
we had, I think, my favorite one, and like I was kind of making sure everything was running well, so I didn't get to do any of these, but my favorite one that I saw was we had a photo walk around the Tunbridge Wells area, and there's some wonderful photos of people just taking photos around Tunbridge Wells, around kind of the town centre. And it was freezing that day. It was like 3 degrees C or something. But like I see those photos, I see those photos, and everyone's got a smile on their face, going, "This is incredible." And I think that was, again, we did that for the first time this year, and it was a really really nice thing to do, where we're just kind of expanding the program and trying new things and different ways of presenting these ideas in a kind of a more practical way. Um, and yeah, it's also a smaller event for us. It's more intimate because we can't hire out a massive 900-seat theatre. We don't even hire out the smaller theatre in this case. We use the local town hall, which is got a wonderful council chamber that we use. And we only had about, I think it was about 50 people we had kind of sum total on the day. But honestly, that was the perfect amount for kind of what we wanted to do, and just promote these really detailed conversations and like really nice human interaction between people. So yeah, it was a lot of fun for us. It was a lot of kind of, will this work? And I'm really glad that a lot of it did, because it means that we are creating the right event for the community.
Yeah, it sounds like a really different event. Actually, now, like, it's given me the motivation to go and look, see if I can find one to go along to.
But you go to like TED's main conference, you've got dinners, you've got workshops, you've got conversations happening. Like TED Next has an entire alternate stage that they have, which is completely in the round, which I absolutely love. I think it's a really nice kind of alternative of like, yeah, we're TEDx, but we're more than just the talks. We are also about the connection, about the other experiences that we can kind of create within the community.
Yeah, this is true. And also, having now had the experience of going to a full TED conference in Vienna a couple of months ago, like, I totally echo that. It was really a very immersive experience. Okay, and I came out really, I'm not going to say I'm an AI expert, but I definitely am more friends with it now than I was 2 or 3 months
Yeah,
ago.
because TED is. I guess I have a question for
Mm.
you then in that
Mm.
case, because I did look at TED AI
Mm.
Vienna, and the dates just couldn't work for me. And like TED's whole thing for so many years has been, we are a generalist conference. We don't have many specific initiatives. They've kind of broken out of that slightly with Countdown. But what is a TED AI event like?
Mm.
What was that kind of experience like?
Yeah, well, I guess some of our listeners might be interested as well to hear about this. I think so. Obviously, everything about the conference was focused on AI, so they definitely kept that brief. But within that, there's a broad range of things. So some of the workshops, for example, that I went to, there was one on how to use, like, using AI to promote health and longevity, for example, like a human lifespan. um, like, open debate about, is AI bad or good for the climate? Um, and then the talks themselves, yeah, like, from some of them were talking about very specific applications of AI. Like, there was one around like how it's helping to decide whether or not you do a cesarean section on, for birth. So that was a very
Wow.
specific, right? And then, but there are others that are a bit more philosophical around, the future of AI. Um, so yeah, like, it really did cover a very broad range, even though it was specifically on that one topic area. Great. So yeah, thanks a lot, Nathan, for spending the time with me here. It's really interesting to hear both in terms of, how our different TEDx's, how they're similar and also how they're different, and also hear about, how people can get involved. Just on that, what would be the best way to get in touch with TEDx Tunbridge Wells if people were
So
interested?
So I would strongly recommend looking at our social media feeds. We are TEDx RTW, because TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells is a mouthful.
Yes.
So we are at TEDx RTW on Instagram. We are TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells on Facebook and LinkedIn. On our website, which is tedxrtw.com, you can see all of our previous talks there. You can see kind of what areas of support we need volunteers to help us out with. We have a few kind of specific roles, but also just if you want to get involved and you are kind of in the Tunbridge Wells kind of Kent area, then we have an open thing as well. Because like, again, we don't know what we don't know. We would love to kind of hear what people want to give. If you are looking to speak at our events, keep an eye on social media feeds. We will announce there when we are doing our next kind of open applications for that. And I think that's everything. And I mean, if people have any other questions, we are hello@tedxrtw.com.
Fabulous. Okay, thanks a lot, Nathan, and I'm sure I'll see you in the flesh sometime soon.
Thank you so much. Lovely to speak to
Cheers.
you.